Of course, no problem at all.
88.1 XFM, Tauranga Hit Music Station. Also another episode of Mike Time with Marty, sponsored by Mike Time with Marty, now available on Spotify and iHeartRadio. I have a very familiar face to Australia and New Zealand. You may have recognized him from Australia's Got Talent, or maybe I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. He is the one, the only Paul Cosentino.
Hello.
Hello. So you have just announced that you were doing yet another tour and you were coming to New Zealand. What's the strategy been like to be able to make this show?
Yeah, well, I've been to New Zealand before. The last one was in 2015, and I kind of just dipped my toes in the water. My last TV special on TV NZ1 was the number one rating show on Sunday night at
Mhm.
7:30, and which is a wonderful thing. It did really, really well in Australia, extremely well in Australia. Then it did extraordinarily well in New Zealand, and I've always wanted to come back since 2015, but do a comprehensive tour, not just Auckland, but actually tour around like I would in Australia. And so the TV was the catalyst for that. And so here we are. We've announced the tour. It's very, very exciting because if people have seen my TV shows or seen me online now, you can see it. You can see it live, and it's really quite a powerful thing to watch it when it's live on TV. You can sometimes justify what I'm doing. Oh, maybe that's an actor that's set up. If I was there, I would see strings. I would know how it's done. And then you come and see it live, and someone's literally floating in front of your eyes, and you think, oh, there's no strings. Or you come up on stage and I read your mind, or your spouse comes up and I read their mind, and you know that's not set up. So how is that possible? And then all of a sudden you get caught up in it, and it becomes a wonderful experience. So people have to come and see it live.
Yeah.
It's very, very different to um, any real type of show. It really is. Any theater show or any rock concert, or it's an interesting combination of different disciplines to do this show.
Mhm. So from your first ever TV special to now, especially going through the pandemic, especially going through what we're seeing on your specials from when you did drop and you burst your eardrums, how have you overcome the cons to make them pros?
Yeah. Well, like for example, when I ruptured my eardrum, I was inside a water tank, a water. I was in dropped down 10 meters deep underwater inside this kind of plastic bubble, handcuff chain locked up. Um, that was a real tragedy because we'd spent so much time developing this particular stunt where I'd be 10 meters deep and it was very dangerous and no one could get to me and I couldn't have any divers in the water because of basically this bubble, this glass tank, round glass tank was dropped. Oh, the little, did you see that? There's a little heart that
Yes.
just popped up. That's interesting. How did that
Yeah.
happen? I've got a new laptop. I don't even know how to happen. Oh, it's because I did a heart.
Oh, oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
look at that. Oh, how cool is that? I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
So, that stunt was a bit devastating because it was the ending of the TV special and it all went pear-shaped. I went back a year later and accomplished it, and did it this time live on Australian TV, which is bonkers. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is you have to get back on the horse, and everyone says that. And obviously, I then had this fear of if I go back in the tank again and do it again, am I going to rupture my eardrum again? And there was consequences for rupturing my eardrum. It didn't end the television special, so I had no big stunt to end the TV show. So as a creative, as an artist, that was a problem.
Yeah.
I couldn't do any live shows in terms of traveling because I couldn't get on an airplane. So now economically, I'm affected. I
Mhm.
had to go back to the network and say to them, you know all the money we spent on the end stunt? Um, yeah, we don't have it anymore. And if anyone knows about TV, that's not the greatest thing to go back to the bosses and tell them. And just to give you guys some context, it was $100,000. So it wasn't an easy thing for me to kind of, yeah. So just so people understand what I was dealing with. So that was it. So, oh, yeah, the stunt went wrong. Okay, yeah, he ruptured his eardrum. Oh, boo-hoo. No, it was a big deal. There's economic issues. There was show issues. There was embarrassment issues and it had creatively no ending to my show. So I then vouched that I would go back and redo it.
Mhm.
I convinced the network this time to do it again,
Yeah.
but we would do it live. There would
Mhm.
be no retake. There would be nothing. I'd do it all live on TV, and what we get is what we get. So that was an extraordinary amount of pressure on me. But what was I going to do? Was I just going to accept that this particular demonstration got the better of me, that I couldn't accomplish it? I couldn't live with that. So I had to go back and do it. So I like to challenge, have these challenge, to face these challenges head on.
Mm.
Same thing when I went on I'm a Celebrity. I mean, here I was in a jungle, on 800 calories a day, trying to, scale mountains. And for me, that was a test. I'm usually in an environment that I can control, a theater, a television studio. Here I was out in the South African jungle. So there is something about pushing the limits. And, and it's very cliche, but every major setback I've had in my career has always led to some other opportunity opening up because I've had to think my way around it. Like, okay, there's a block now. A door has been shut. Might be shut because some of these gatekeepers that I like to call people in charge shut the door on you, or maybe it was because something went wrong, a stunt went wrong. But anything that's kind of stifled my career in the beginning, which is devastating, has then allowed me to kind of pivot, reconfigure, restructure a way around it. And that's always led to the biggest growth from me. So that is in essence turning these cons into pros. It's about look not pretending that oh no, everything's good, it's okay. It's not all sunshine and rain, not at all. Like it's not like that, but it is about acknowledging this is an issue, this is a problem. What do we now do to get around this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you get creative. That's where you grow the most. That's where you get discipline. And in essence, I mean, much of what I do in my shows is about overcoming obstacles. So I now try and have the mental capacity to know when there's something challenging, that it's not a problem, that it's just a matter of solving it. And from this, I will grow.
100%.
It's a good attitude to have.
100%. So, as a magician, illusionist, and death-defying escape artist, you have to be quick on your feet. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself on your quick thinking?
Live on stage, yeah, very high, very, very high. Obviously, 5 would be average. So I would say, 8s or 9s. You're constantly you're watching the lighting. You're watching we have cameras that shoot it live on stage. I'm listening to the audience, even if I can't see them because it's all black. I'm listening, so I've got lighting, audience, cameras, watching my feet. So in a magic show, things go wrong. Like apparatus might not work. Your hands might be cold and you're not as dexterous. An audience member might handle a prop or choose a card or whatever it might be in the wrong way, or so you've got to be able to adjust and adapt very, very quickly. That only comes with time and experience. And don't get me wrong, like I'm not trying to come across like some extreme expert but just doing live shows and being on the circuit for a long time, they're the skills that you can't learn practicing in your bedroom. They're the skills you can't learn by just doing videos on TikTok. It's a very different, because obviously you can stop the camera and you can refilm.
Yeah.
They're the skills you don't learn by doing a TV show. They're skills you learn by actually getting on the road and traveling the world and actually doing genuine performances. And there's a big difference between doing like tricks that you do on social media and then tricks you do in front of a real audience and then tricks you do in front of like a crowd. So they're all very different disciplines and they all require their own kind of thinking. But being on stage requires the most quick thinking, I believe.
Okay, so we're going to put that to the test. I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions. You're just going to answer them as quickly as you possibly can. Right, you ready?
All right.
Right, let's go. Australia
Ready.
or New Zealand?
Australia, my home.
All right, can't go wrong with that one. Coke or Sprite?
Coke.
Okay, sunset or sunrise?
Sunset.
Okay, do you prefer necklaces or rings?
Necklaces.
Okay, if you could pick one place in the world to go, where would you go?
Egypt.
Egypt. Okay, if you could pick one celebrity, both dead and alive, to perform a magic trick to, who would they be?
Houdini, my hero.
Mhm.
if they're both dead, and Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Okay. If you could pick a lineup of magicians and performers to do one last show, and you could pick two others, who would they be?
Alive?
Yep, alive or passed on.
Oh, well, if they were passed on, I would say, oh my God, that's a big list. How do I narrow it down? I mean, like I think about guys like Siegfried and Roy are just doing a major show with Siegfried and Roy. There's just two. But I
Yep.
mean, imagine doing an escape with Houdini. Imagine Houdini and I doing a straitjacket escape together. Um, you know, but then I, I loved Prince and I loved Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire. I mean, these will be the two Houdini, and then
Yep.
the people that are past Houdini for the escapes, and I would say Gene Kelly for just theatrical performance.
Love that. Amazing. All right, and final
Mm.
question, which happens to be the most difficult question according to the guests that have been on my show. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
I see myself with my own residency, my own show, where people come and see me. I
Mhm.
love touring, hence why I do it. I tour all around the country. At home, I tour all around the world. Um, Obviously, we're coming to New Zealand in November. Um, But in 5 years, I would like to start to see the motions of me having a residency where people can actually come to me, which is a bit challenging in Australia. In New Zealand, it's challenging too.
Mhm.
Um, but I can see myself doing that in 5 years.
Okay. So you have gone from doing cards to picking locks and yes, I dabble, I dabble. So you've gone from doing card tricks to picking locks and to literally define the your body anatomy. How have you gone from again doing cards to literally you're on death's door and you make it out just like that?
Yeah, I started off. Well, obviously, my heroes in the beginning when I first started Magic were Harry Houdini, and then I
Mhm.
exposed about Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, David Copperfield in the beginning. Um, I always dabbled with both. I was playing around with locks and chains and I mean my brothers, I have two older brothers, they used to tie me up in rope on a chair and push me in the pool. We used to do crazy things. So I was always into the escapes from very young, 12, 13 years old. And then of course Houdini, as you probably know, it kind of spurs into this world of magic. So together I was always studying both.
Mhm.
Houdini, just the discipline of being able to manipulate your body, being able to liberate yourself from anything.
Mhm.
Houdini's mantra was that, nothing on earth can hold Houdini a prisoner. All that fascinated me. So I was fascinated with it too. And then the magic allowed me to be theatrical. I can't sing, I can dance, but
Mhm.
I wanted to be like Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire. So I wanted to be in the theater, and magic was my path in there. So I always saw them hand in hand, more so than doing like sleight of hand with coin. There's a lot of sleight of hand in the show, but doing sleight of hand with coins and cards, I didn't really start down that path. I started with sleight of hand on stage, making birds appear, manipulation type stuff. Um, so they kind of just they were always natural, and same with the dance, like dancing, escapes, and magic from 12, 13 all kind of came together at
Mhm.
once. It was never like a conscious, oh, if I put this piece together and I put this piece and I put that piece, I'll have this type of show. It was never in my vocabulary. I just was kind of mimicking what I loved.
Mhm.
Um, so that's how it all came together. Quite organic.
Okay. See, my type of magic that I like to do is the creepy stuff, like the human blockhead and doing kind of that kind of stuff. So you and me, we've gone from different paths where you were the whole manipulation stuff. I just want to creep people out and act like every day's Halloween.
Yeah. But I do like that too. I like all what we call, as we call the geek magic. I like because to produce a response like that, where you freak people out, like it is a great, because you get such great reactions out of doing things like that, and yeah, it can be a lot of fun. So I definitely understand what you're saying, and that the escapes touch on that too. People are going,
Mhm.
oh no, really, you're going to do that? So there's
Yeah,
that aspect of it that I think is really enjoyable that you're well aware of.
100%. So, Cos, is there a chance that we could see maybe a mentalism trick or something?
Yeah, let's try something mentalism.
Awesome.
Um, think of, as you know, but maybe your listeners don't know. In a packet of playing cards, there's 52 different cards. They're all
Hmm.
unique, and you would know that the 52. But we'll tell your listeners,
Hmm.
52 different cards. You know, to us as magicians, cards have a very significant um, value property. The 52 different cards represent the 52 weeks in a year. The four suits represent the four seasons. Black cards, red cards represent night and day. Ace being one, let's say, and king being 13. So one all the way to 13 times by equals 365. So when someone selects a card, you know, and I know that it holds power. So let's do this together. Think of I want you to choose between red card or black cards, and it's entirely up to you.
Okay.
And you
Red.
just tell me now, red or black.
Red.
Red. Now, red cards. Okay, red. Red cards. Now, if it's a red card, it has to be a heart or a diamond. What do you want it to be?
Diamond.
You can diamond. Okay, number card or picture card.
Picture.
Jack, queen, or king.
King.
King. So what did we say? We said red card, we said diamond, and we said
King.
king. So it's
Yeah.
the king of diamonds.
Hmm.
Okay. Before I'm going to tilt this down so you can see. Before we started, I took one card from a completely different pack and I placed it in the red pack.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the red pack's been in my hand the whole time. Remember, you could have changed your mind. Like
Hmm.
you could have said it was the queen, you could have said it was a heart, but you said the king of diamonds. Okay. Hopefully you can see. Let me put this down. Hopefully you can see this. As I move through the pack, you'll see that all the cards are face down. That's really, really important. They're all face down. I'll go slowly so you can see.
Yeah.
Okay, they're all face down. Now, I took one card and I actually placed it face up. It's the King of Diamonds. But something else that you need to know. Do you remember I said that the King of Diamonds was from a completely different pack?
Mm.
Yeah, it's the only card in the pack that's blue because all the other cards, as you saw, are actually red. What's crazy? What's crazy though? I said I took this card from a completely different
Mhm.
pack, and we've never met before. But I had a feeling you would select the King of Diamonds because I made sure it was the only card in the pack that's even printed. There's no other cards, and you had no other choice.
Okay. See, that's the thing I love about magic. It's the like even if you dabble in it, you can still be amazed to this day. Like
Yeah,
there's the greats of like Penn and Teller who have been fooled so many times. Like I'm even sure that you've seen tricks over the years that you're like, I want to learn that, or how the heck do they do that?
yeah, of
It's a
course.
constant cycle.
And isn't that a wonderful thing? Like Penn and Teller, they've got the longest running show in Vegas. And even they, as you said, can still be fooled. There used to be this concept of, oh, I'm a magician and no one can fool me. No, Penn and Teller have proved that there's great minds that they can fool. And by the way, people always used to ask me, they don't ask it so much anymore. But before the Penn and Teller Fool show, people would say to me in interviews, oh, can anyone ever fool you with a trick? And I would honestly say yes. And I love it when they do fool me because you get that sense of wonder and astonishment again. So I'm not by any means like, oh, I don't know how, oh, that person did that trick. And no, I love to be entertained and be baffled, and so or be fooled. So yeah, it is. I agree. And the art form is constantly moving and evolving. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
100%. So you have mentioned that you like that sort of geek magic. Would you like to know my
Mm.
interpretation of the human blockhead?
Yeah, show me, show me, show me.
Okay, so I think of this as the portable COVID test. So you remember
Yeah,
how back in the day you'd have to stick a swab in your nose and it would even make the most brutiest of men cry. See,
yeah.
I was at the doctor's office when COVID first started, I was actually doing a comedy show, one of my first ever comedy shows I ever did. And I was told that I had to do a COVID test before I could board the plane or board the bus.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, why don't I make it funny and into a bit of a little gag? I told her, I've been practicing little sleights of hand and geek stuff. Do you want to see it? I grabbed the swab and literally just imprinted it right there into my nose. And then I can go backwards and forwards. And then I told them, so do I have COVID?
Oh wow, wow, wow.
That's the type of
Yeah,
stuff
it
I love
geez,
to
it
do.
looks I know I love it. And God, it does. It is like it is quite
Yeah,
it's cool, man. How long
100%.
have you been doing that? Like doing how long have you been doing this type of so you do comedy and you do the geek
Yeah,
magic?
yeah. I sometimes go around town and play with some cards. My
Yep.
dad showed me my first ever card trick, which was the
Yeah.
double lift.
Yep.
And I was completely baffled by it, and I was like, I need to
Mm.
learn how to do that trick, and I need to one up him. So literally
Yeah.
every day after school, I would run into my room and I would grab my phone, my laptop,
Practice, yeah.
my books, my cards, and everything. And I would sit there and play with cards. I was learning cardistry. I was learning everything.
Yeah.
And he'd always find a way to figure out how I did it until
Oh
I
wow.
showed him the human blockhead. As soon as I
Wow.
showed him the blockhead, he's just like, I'm not gonna try and find that because that's disgusting. You win. So that was the day I fooled my father.
Yeah, wow, wow. You know what's funny? I have a kind of similar story. When I first started magic, my mother first taught me, I learned through a magic book, and I made a 20-cent coin vanish, just a French drop, nothing special. But my father had never seen magic. And so I made the coin vanish, and my father said to me, "How did you do it?" So I got that confirmation as well.
Mm,
And my father's a structural engineer, and in my world as a little boy, I saw him as a genius. He was so clever.
mm.
So to be able to baffle my father, to fool my father, was very, very powerful to me. And that set me on my trajectory of becoming obsessed with magic. Very similar to you. Very, very
Exactly,
similar. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so this tour that you were doing is, and like you've mentioned, it is nothing like you've ever made before. What can we look forward to for the next Cosentino tour?
It's a it's my favorite pieces, my best pieces, my most baffling pieces. It's called Decennium, which is Latin for decade, because it's a celebration of my life in magic over 10 years. 10 years where people got introduced to me, mainly coming on the scene through Australia's Got Talent, and then from there having my TV specials, which did obviously air in New Zealand and all around the world. Um, I started magic 15 years prior to that, though. Most people kind of just jumped on board 10 years ago, but I've been doing it for a very, very long time. Um, and then, so in this show, there's this sleight of hand close up magic, kind of similar to what you just saw, but more elaborate, projected onto video screens. There's then the illusions. What does that mean? People appearing and disappearing and levitating and teleporting. There's a crazy death defying escapes where my head's in a perspex box and kitchen knives dangling above my head. You're going to love this stuff. And I have to escape in time. Yeah, so it's a combination of all of those disciplines and then lots of audience interaction, lots of participation, very immersive, and very entertaining from being dramatic, action-packed, romantic at times, and funny. And we weave all these together to create a show. Great lighting design, great kind of setup and apparatus. So it's yeah, it's a very it's a different show. And as you would know, it comes down to the performer and the personality. You could say, oh, it's a comedy show, but is it? The person telling the jokes is different. Their approach is different. Their stories are different. It's still comedy, but
Yeah,
it's the performer that makes that comedy good, bad, or indifferent. And that's the same with magicians and illusionists. It all comes down to, do you like the persona of that particular artist? And hopefully people do.
amazing. Well, I cannot wait to hopefully come and see you live. And
Yes.
I cannot wait to tell everyone, hey, I met the one and only Paul Cosentino, which, by the way, I'm 21, so I grew up watching you. So from my
Oh,
standpoint, thank you for what you do. Also, what was it like working with Jackie Chan?
wow. I had to teach him magic. So, for your for listeners, Jackie Chan was in a film called Bleeding. It was called Bleeding Steel, and it was about it was about his nephew, no, his niece, who all these people are chasing her and trying to hunt her down, and they're not quite sure why. But anyway, they find that in the end that this particular girl, little girl, she has special blood that gives eternal life. So the baddies are trying to get her because they will live forever if they catch her and get her blood. And it's a futuristic type movie. Anyway, there's a scene in the movie where she goes to see a hypnotist
Yeah.
and she's going to find out who she really is. And this hypnotist is called the Oracle to reveal what's going to happen. And it
Okay.
takes place at the Sydney Opera House. And an oracle is like a slash illusionist magician. Anyway, I was brought in as a consultant because they needed someone to choreograph a fight scene that would take place with magic. So if you can picture in your mind, cards appearing out of nowhere, Jackie's kind of, trying to fight with the cards flying in his face, and there's certain props, things are happening around him. So if you've ever seen a Jackie Chan movie, you will know that he kind of jumps through ladders and slides across floors and gets himself out of these little tight spaces. So my job was to just do that and coordinate this fight scene. And the character was called Chamberlain the Mirage. That was the character, and he was like this old kind of wizard Chinese magician.
Yeah.
Like, this is a Chinese film,
Mhm.
um, and that was it. But then, as I was consulting on the film, the character, the render, the drawings they had of this particular old wizard-like magician kind of slightly morphed into me. He ended up with long hair and dreads, and then he had like this heavy eyeliner, and I was like, oh, geez, the character was kind of looking a little bit like me. But anyway, whatever. I don't know, whatever they want to do, whatever. Um, and then at one stage, they were like, you know what? Why don't you just play the character? I was like, oh, all right, I'll play Chamberlain the Mirage. So here I was brought into the film where I had to act in the scene, get stabbed in the scene, die in the scene, deliver lines, and do the choreography working with Jackie. And in the end, they changed his name from Chamberlain the Mirage to literally Cosentino. And so that was just right place, right time. But Jackie was a really good student. Obviously, he's a martial artist, and there's a
Yeah.
discipline there. So teaching him magic, he picked up things very, very quickly. And it was a great collaboration teaching him how to it was interesting to learn like what kind of material we could use, what kind of magic material we could put in the fight scenes that wouldn't overshadow the fighting, but kind of complement it. So at one stage we had like typical, we had like a rabbit appear out of
Yeah.
fire, and then he's got the rabbit, but he doesn't want to hurt it because it's this beautiful little creature. So he's trying to fight people off, put the and fight them off and grab it in his comical style. So it was a real trip, and what a great experience for me. I loved it.
That is absolutely amazing. Something to go down in the record books. So, again, you have this tour coming up. Again, big congratulations. Where else can people find you? TikTok, Instagram, everything. Let the people know what's going on.
Yeah, everywhere. So on Instagram, it's the Cosentino. So Cosentino, Cosentino. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it's all the same. The Cosentino. Or you can go on my website, cosentino.com.au. You find all the details there. YouTube, same thing. You can even stream all my TV shows. TVNZ1 plays the TV show. I think you can go watch them all on Australian TV too if you search all that. So yeah, or watch it online. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Well, Cosentino, once again, thank you so much for taking the time. What are you doing for the rest of the day?
Well, I've got to now prep for tomorrow. I've got new interviews coming up tomorrow, and more PR to do, and yeah, get myself coordinated in my hotel room, I guess. But yeah, go out for dinner, and that's it. Yeah, early
Absolutely
morning
love,
again.
love it. All right, well, Cosentino, good luck with the tour. You're absolutely going to smash it. We have nothing but faith in you, here in good old little New Zealand. And who knows, maybe we'll cross paths one way or another.
I love that. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I really appreciate your time. Take care.
All right, you as well.
Bye bye.